Now that we've made it into March, it's time to take a look at our February haul 2023. This month had a lot of anticipated releases and pickups for me, and I can't wait to talk about them with all of you. So settle in, get comfortable, and get ready for the Comic Book Report. Greetings all. As always, my name is Dominic and you're tuning in to the Comic Book Report, where we review comic books and graphic novels so you can get an idea of what to read. And today, as I mentioned earlier, we're actually going to be continuing a newer monthly segment I'm doing here on the channel. That's right, it's my monthly comic book haul video. And while there are plenty of amazing places to pick up your comic book collected editions, I always recommend channel sponsor OrganicPriceBooks.com. Use my code, TheComicBookReport, at checkout to get $2 off of your order today. If you use my affiliate code or links, I do earn a small commission, but it's a great way to support the channel. Thank you for considering, and now let's get started with this month's haul. First up on the haul list today, Batman Lil Gotham Calendar Days. This small, digest-size paperback collection is brought to us, of course, by DC Comics. Now, as I mentioned, this collection is digest size, so it is quite a bit smaller than a trade paperback or the standard size comic book format. I didn't actually know that when I went to purchase this. I added this as kind of a tag on to an online order I was doing to get free shipping. When I saw that Dustin Nguyen was attached to this for the artwork, I really have enjoyed some of the stuff I've seen from him since starting Descender. And I'm always looking for kid-friendly Batman content for my son. I do think that this is still a little bit advanced for his young age, but this looks like a really fun little collection. I'll admit I haven't really made my way through it properly yet. It's just kind of sat on my bookcase this month, but I was excited to get it in. I was surprised by the smaller size, but I was delighted as I flipped through to see the incredible Dustin Nguyen artwork. There are these little bite-sized Gotham City characters. We have your favorites: Batman, Robin, Nightwing, all of the characters, Catwoman, Poison Ivy, so many of the Gotham greats in this fun, childlike little format. I was loosely aware of the Lil Gotham series and kind of line of comic books, and so when I found this for, I think, like less than $5, I knew it was my time to go ahead and give it a try. We'll see what I think when I actually make my way through it. If you're interested at all in a review, you'll have to let me know in the comments. I'd also be fascinated to hear if you've ever read any of the Lil Gotham material. Like I said, this is my first time, but I was excited to get this little collection in the mail. It definitely added a bit of variety to my monthly haul. And as I finish my flip through here, if you haven't yet, please consider subscribing to the channel. I do at least weekly comic book reviews and other miscellaneous videos, shorts, and community posts. If you like comic book collected editions, I appreciate you giving me a chance. Now let's keep it going with today's haul video. Next on the list for this month, Undiscovered Country Volume 2 Unity. This is a standard size trade paperback collection from Image Comics, brought to us by Scott Snyder and Charles Soule, amongst some others. This trade paperback was definitely a welcome pickup in my collection. I reviewed Volume 1 of Undiscovered Country a few weeks back, really enjoyed it, really hope to pick this up sometime soon, and actually just prior to recording this video, I actually finished this paperback collection. I'll probably do a full review of this volume sometime in the coming weeks, but suffice it to say, it really kept the momentum going. It definitely went in some unexpected places for me, and I'm just hooked on this series. I cannot wait to pick up Volume 3. The basic plot synopsis for this series, at least early on, is that it's in a near future that is racked by a pandemic, but also in this world 30 years prior to the events of the series, America sealed itself off with these towering walls that are kind of electrified and have all these different barriers, and no one has gone in or out in the last 30 years. There's been absolutely no communication, and no one really knows what's happening inside. In those 30 years, the rest of the world has basically been divided up into predominantly two other factions of humanity, and they're kind of being wiped out by this virus that's gone global. Out of nowhere, they receive a communication and basically invite a small handful of people to come into America for a chance to find a cure. Inside, though, America that was known once upon a time has long changed. We have this sort of sci-fi, fantasy dystopia going on. There's a lot of epic adventure, mystery, intrigue. Like I said, I did review Volume 1 on the channel if this sounds interesting to you, but I am absolutely hooked. This volume, Unity, does pick up right after the events of Volume 1, which I won't spoil for any of you that haven't read it yet. But I really think that this kept the same consistently strong writing, artwork, pacing, and really took it in unusual new directions that really make me eager and even more expectant for the future of this series. I know I am a bit behind the current ongoing issue number as I collect these collected editions, but I really hope it keeps this integrity and this quality because I really enjoy it. One of my favorite newer offerings from Image Comics. Next up in my February haul, Excalibur Hardcover Volume 2 from Tini Howard. This is in that Krakoa era for the X-Men books. This picks up after the events of X of Swords, and yes, I went ahead and doubled down with this Excalibur series. I will admit it was one of my earlier reads within that Dawn of X era. I did review the first volume of the hardcovers. I was a bit middle of the road with this title for the Volume 1, but I got a great deal on this hardcover, and I'm a sucker for these editions. My understanding is that this closes out Tini Howard's run on Excalibur, so I also would have the full run here. I am about halfway, maybe a little under halfway through this at the time of the recording, and it's not too bad. The art's really strong, and there's enough here that I do genuinely enjoy. I like a handful of the characters. I know this volume incorporates Psylocke in some capacity, which is always a fun read in my opinion. I do plan on actually reviewing this Excalibur volume sometime in the coming weeks, so if you're subscribed, please make sure you have that notification bell clicked on so you're notified when this video drops. Yeah, I really just do love these editions. They are oversized. I love the formatting, the kind of pages they use, the sort of minimalist design aesthetic. I like all the green for this Excalibur run. Just very cool. For those that maybe haven't watched my earlier review, this is essentially a high fantasy X-Men book that is during the kind of current Krakoa era. Really fun conceit. I do like the idea of mixing high fantasy and kind of the X-Men Marvel universe. I think the execution on this title so far has been kind of so-so for me, but every so often there are some real hits within the pages, and I am excited to finish out Tini Howard's run. Next up on the haul, some of my most anticipated pickups this month, the last two Ultimate collections for Robert Kirkman's Invincible. I will try to be a little bit delicate flipping through the pages here to avoid major spoilers, but be fair warned, this is the end of this comic run, so there might be some details if you're still making your way through. I won't speak to them, but hopefully you don't catch too much as far as the visual goes. But yeah, this is the end of Robert Kirkman's run on Invincible. I think that these last two Ultimate collections constitute maybe the last 25 or so issues of that run, and I am absolutely elated to have picked this up. Very excited to finish out the Ultimate collection and actually finish my run through Invincible. I did finish these volumes in the course of February, and I'm happy to report I finally finished that series. I absolutely loved it. I am wondering if I'll do a total retrospective on the series at some point, as this has become one of my absolute favorite comic book series of all time. I know that that's not an opinion I share alone, but it's still worth talking about, and I'm sure I am going to want to talk about the scope of Invincible now that I've finished it. But at any rate, these are great additions. I know that they've recently started releasing a hardcover compendium. I know that they're planning on doing some of the library edition hardcovers again, but I'm really satisfied with these Ultimate collections. They're a great price point from where I've found them, and they're a nice oversized hardcover format, just really nicely made, no complaints whatsoever, and again, just really stoked to finish out the run. Next up, the House of M Omnibus from Marvel Comics. The House of M was written by Brian Michael Bendis, and frankly, it's one of my all-time favorite Marvel events of all time, and to have it included in this omnibus format with all of the different series tie-ins and a ton of extras, this book was a real gift and such a treat to read. I did read it and review it this month, and I highly recommend it for fans of the Marvel Universe or Marvel events by and large. If you don't want to commit to the omnibus itself, I definitely recommend at least picking up the event series with the 8 issues of House of M. The other tie-ins are not necessary at all to enjoy the story of House of M. House of M itself is a self-contained series. The tie-ins are just sort of the cherries on top that help fill out this alternate world, and I really loved it. Highly recommend the series. If you want more details, definitely check out my review that I released covering House of M. But this book was a real treat. Really impressed with its size, how well the actual binding held up, and the reproductions. I read this in a standard size trade paperback, at least some of the tie-ins and the main series proper, but to revisit in this oversized format, just what a treat. Some really gifted creators working on this book. The art throughout was very, very stellar, and it was fun reading some tie-ins that I had just never read before. Such an incredible event. It was heavily based around the mutants, so fans of X-Men and X-Men books definitely pick up House of M if you've never given it a try. Really, really worth the time. Without giving away any spoilers, essentially House of M puts the Marvel mainstream 616 universe into an alternate state wherein the ruling class of humanity is the mutants, Homo Superior, under the rule of Magneto and the rest of the House of Magnus or House of M. This alternate reality has been made by the Scarlet Witch, Wanda Maximoff, and it's such a trip, a very fun read as the heroes try to figure out a way to get the world back to the way it was, and what consequences may or may not ensue based on this conflict. Definitely a historic moment in Marvel history, and again, one of my all-time favorite events. Next up, one of my most anticipated releases of the year. That's right, I'm talking about the Daredevil by Frank Miller and Klaus Janson Omnibus reprint. This is, of course, an iconic run in Daredevil history. This was the Daredevil Renaissance. We got so many incredible retconnings and additions to the Daredevil lore and mythos, thanks to Frank Miller and everything he did on this title. The reimagining of this character is the basis for all contemporary modern Daredevil runs. Daredevil is my absolute favorite superhero, and this run is an absolute essential. I had the entire run in trade paperback before upgrading to this format. I'm really hoping that this generates interest in a Daredevil by Frank Miller companion omnibus reprint. I know that includes things like Born Again and Man Without Fear, some of my favorite Daredevil works of all time, but this Daredevil run proper is still absolutely excellent, and I'm so eager to revisit and have this in my collection. I did do an unboxing video for this collection. I know some people have had complaints about the spine. I totally get it. It isn't kind of outdated look. It's not uniform with the rest of the Marvel Omnibus spines. I totally get it, but I'm just so happy to have this in my collection. I really don't care. To have this incredible run in oversized format, hardcover, just a dream. So excited to have it in my collection. I did pick up the direct market cover, that reprinted issue, I think 181. I just love the look of it. I know that the standard edition was also quite popular, but again, just excited to have it in my collection. I really do plan on reviewing the actual contents of the book someday, but for right now, I did the unboxing, and I am just eager to take a couple swings at some of these issues. Frank Miller's run is, of course, responsible for adding some key characters and players in the Daredevil mythos. Of course, I'm talking about characters like Elektra, Stick, The Hand, positioning Kingpin as a main Daredevil villain, where before he was more just a Spider-Man villain. He did this and so much more across this run, and it's just one to absolutely remember. The kind of action and the cinematic scope, the panel layouts, how they did each shot, it just reminds me of a movie storyboard. It's done to perfection, and I think that this is leaps and bounds ahead of some of his peers at the time. While a lot of these issues came out, 40 years ago or so, they still have a kind of modern feel in a lot of ways. There's a gritty kind of crime noir aspect to it. Like I said, this is foundational for all modern Daredevil runs. Highly recommend it for those that have never read it. Good stuff. Next up, we have the Spider-Verse Spider-Geddon Omnibus from Marvel Comics. Now, this was one I pre-ordered last year when I heard it was first solicited. I'm a big fan of the Into the Spider-Verse movie, and I think the whole concept of all these different parallel universe sort of Spider-Man characters is just really interesting. I always wanted to make my way through this adventure, or these adventures, I should say, but there wasn't a ton of collected editions I saw. I know the ones that were released had a bunch of problems with the issue mapping and things like that. I've been told that this one is really well mapped. I'm really eager to dive into this. I haven't read a ton of contemporary Spider-Man. I know I picked up the Nick Spencer Omnibus I'm making my way through right now, but this is some of the most modern Spider-Man I've had an opportunity to read. I'm really excited for these events. Like I said, I am a fan of some of these alternate Spider-Man characters. I've read a few of them. I've read some of Spider-Gwen, Miles, some of Spider-Man 2099, Noir, things like that. So I'm really interested in how they integrate all these characters together and kind of what the adventure plays out as. I'm really hoping it's good. If you've read Spider-Verse, let me know what you think in the comments below. Not sure when I'll get to this, just in my reading queue, but I know I have it now and I can't wait to eventually dive in. A huge book like this contains so many tie-ins and issues from various series, so we have a lot of different artists, authors, things like that on the title. Just flipping through this collection, there is definitely a wide array of artistic styles. I think for the most part, I do enjoy that with a collection like this. You get a kind of sampling of so many different sort of eclectic artists. I know I'll definitely have some winners here for me, and again, I'm just really excited to see this. We've been given a ton of Spider-Man omnibuses lately, and I know this was amongst one of my favorites I was looking forward to, so we'll see how it goes. Another huge omnibus, but so far the binding looks good, the formatting looks really good. Like I said, really excited that this seems to be mapped correctly based on what I've heard, and I can't wait to dive in. I love all the red on the cover art, things like that. Really well designed from what I can see. Overall, just really excited for more Spider-Man in the collection. Next on my February haul, Avengers by Jonathan Hickman Omnibus Volume 1 reprint. I know I've said it a few times already, but this was another hotly anticipated book that I knew I was going to pre-order. I've had it on order for a while. I was so excited when it got delivered. I wasn't planning on really making my way through it right away, but lo and behold, I'm already about a third of my way into this and absolutely loving it. For those that maybe don't know, I ranked the Fantastic Four by Jonathan Hickman my favorite read of 2022. Finally had an opportunity to make my way through that run last year and just loved it. I could not believe how incredible it was. I also read Secret Wars, which I know comes after this Avengers run, but I just cannot get enough incredible Jonathan Hickman work. I've heard really great things about this Avengers run. I know I have Volume 2 pre-ordered as well. I think right now it's supposed to come out sometime in May. But again, so excited for this Volume 1 to see what they do with the Avengers, both the kind of classic, more memorable team, as well as all of these amazing new additions. I'm really just floored at the kind of scope of the narrative Jonathan Hickman is once again attempting here. I've heard that overall he's really successful in it. I know that this culminates in Secret Wars, which was fantastic. So again, I'm very excited. I've loved the third of this I've read so far. The art is absolutely incredible. The writing is really well paced, and the characters are all pitch perfect and balanced really well for such an impressive roster of characters that Hickman seems to go through. I'm really just wowed. I love all the stuff he seems to be doing with the Illuminati within the Marvel Universe. Some of those issues that I've read so far have been some of my favorites. So excited to have an opportunity to read this run from Hickman, and I love the presentation of this omnibus. Like I said, can't wait to finish and can't wait to check out Volume 2. Anyone who enjoys a more heady or complex superhero narrative with a big scope, highly recommend the works of Jonathan Hickman, and if my first third of this omnibus is any indication, this Avengers run should go right up there with some of his best work. And the final entry for my February 2023 comic book haul, X Factor by Peter David Omnibus Volume 2. So I did go for the direct market cover on this omnibus, got a fantastic deal on it. I wasn't really sure if I was going to pick this up right away or not. It's been released for a few months, but I did just finish the first X Factor Omnibus volume, reviewed it on the channel, and just really loved the characters that Peter David used. Rapidly became one of my favorite X-Men teams. Volume 1 was his 90s run on the title. This is like his early 2000s era run that takes place right around House of M. I'm really excited to see how that event affects this whole series. I know that this run can be read without reading Volume 1, but I'm really excited because I've read Volume 1 how much more I'll know about the characters, the background, and Peter David's style for X Factor. Really eager to dive into this. I've read the first issue or two. So far, so great. The art style, just flipping through it, looks really modern and really exciting. For those that have read this series, let me know what you think in the comments. I, for one, cannot wait. This was a really surprising pickup for me this month. I wasn't sure I was going to get it in February, but really happy I did. I loved finishing out the last volume, so hopefully, expectations are really high for this run for me. I mean, just look at the art. Just astounding. I really am enjoying some of these more fringe X-Men teams. I've enjoyed reading like Excalibur and New Mutants and some of these teams. So X Factor was another extension that I knew I wanted to check out. I was floored by his 90s run, like I mentioned, so I really have high hopes. I love the characters. I'm really excited to learn more about Madrox, the Multiple Man. Strong Guy was another particular favorite of mine during the 90s run, and he looks like he's prevalent in this book as well. So really eager to see the different adventures. I know that this volume, again, is supposed to take place right around House of M. It's X Factor, but it's when Madrox makes kind of a detective agency, sort of solving mutant-related problems or past mutant-related problems. So again, hoping it's kind of cool. I've heard there's a almost crime, gritty, noir aspect to it. Expectations are certainly high. And that's going to do it for my comic book collected edition haul for February 2023. A little bit lighter than last month, but still some unbelievably heavy hitters. Was able to get a lot of my pre-orders in. I do expect March to be a little bit lighter than even this, but I will still hopefully send out these monthly haul videos. Again, it's a newer format for me, so let me know if you like these kinds of videos. I'm enjoying making them myself. And if I haven't said it yet, thank you so much for watching. If you're interested in picking up some of these books, please consider checking out our channel sponsor, Organic Price Books, and thank you so much. Until next time, this has been The Comic Book Report. Please don't forget to leave a like and a comment. I always love hearing from all of you. And until next time, have a good one.